Welcome into another edition of the USF Football Radio Show. The Bulls have finished their road schedule for 2020. Two home games coming up. Navy on Saturday, UCF the day after Thanksgiving, Friday, November 27th. Well, Coach, you and your staff and your players, too, have been pretty steadfast about not using COVID as any kind of excuse for anything that happens on the field. However, that was quite the unavailables list on Saturday in Houston. COVID and the regular injuries that happened in the course of the year as well. How close were you to not getting that game in?
Yeah, this is a year like unlike any other in college football, and obviously just around the whole country and the whole world. And you know, uh, we have a really good medical staff, and they've done a great job of keeping all the testing protocols in place. And I give our players a lot of credit. They continue to follow the things we're asking them to do, but. Yeah, we definitely were at the point last week. We still had two tests to go, and if we would have had maybe one player pop on any of the last two tests, then there's a strong chance the game would have been postponed or canceled. And at this point in the year, we want to play, and we need where we are right now as a program. We got a lot of players that need to play, so that's kind of what our mindset is. But it is very difficult. There's not many years where you would have to play some guys as much as they're playing on defense and on special teams. I could tell that, we were a tired football team whenever I watched our defense Saturday. I think that really showed up, and we had opportunities to make plays, and just felt like the guys didn't have their legs, and that's really probably the cumulative effect of a long year of kind of pressing on some guys at several positions in practice a lot, and then also in games. And so, those snaps and all that stuff add up. So there's no doubt that that is different for this year. But I think for us as coaches and players, it's really you have to put that to the side. And once they kick the ball off, we have to be able to go out and execute and play well. And when we don't, we've got to be honest with ourselves, come in and watch it, and as coaches and players, figure out ways to learn and improve so that we can improve this season and play better here as we finish.
Coach, obviously, not only yourself, but this university has the responsibility of protecting these players, and with all decision making, keeping their health at the forefront of concern. So at this point, how do you continue to measure success and progress with all of these things in front of you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, and the other thing that's unique is this being our first year. I think you can look at Florida State. Coach Norvell kind of had a similar situation going in. A lot of the first year head coaches, you didn't have that March, April, May, June really to number one in the weight room, strength and conditioning, right? But also just to kind of lay out your expectations in the program. And so I think you see more turnover around the country with the opt-outs and those things, and even maybe some guys that are dismissed from the teams that have first-year coaches. And so when you already start with maybe 10 or 12 guys that aren't here before you get to the COVIDs and the positives, then that's kind of where you get to the situation that we are now. I think today we had 16 scholarship defensive players practicing available, and we started in August with 40, right? And so you could go through the list and kind of see the different guys and kind of how we got to this point. And so it was the first time that I went into a locker room after the game and told them, hey, number one, I'm disappointed by how we played, and we didn't execute well. And number two, I appreciate your effort, and I appreciate you playing every snap. And I don't look past that. And so that's a different conversation than I thought I would ever have with a team. But it is our duty as coaches and athletic trainers and leadership and all that to make sure that we're keeping our guys safe. And to this point, we have. We did have some extra injuries in this past game this past weekend that they're making it a little bit difficult for us now. And hopefully we can find a safe way to practice and play this weekend.
Practice has been a challenge for a while because of numbers. But now you face fatigue too. When a guy goes out and takes 80 snaps on Saturday, how hard can they work Monday through Friday? How limited are you in practice?
Yeah, having to get creative. Today for our Monday practice, we stretched and we did about 15 minutes of conditioning, and then we did a walkthrough for an hour. Just because, just like you said, it's the 80 snaps on defense, and then it's the 20 snaps on special teams. So when you lose defensive players, majority of your special teams players are also defensive players. So, if you're Mike Hampton, you're playing 80 snaps on defense and you're playing 20 to 25 snaps. So now you're playing over 100 snaps. And you still show up. I mean, a lot of these guys, 95% of our guys have shown up. They're not happy. They're definitely not accepting losing whatsoever. They're very disappointed and embarrassed like I am. But they show up willing to go to work. And so, kind of back to Sam's question, how are you measuring success? Right now, I'm measuring a program as far as guys just continuing to show up each and every week, continuing to give effort. When this is the easiest year ever in the history of college football to pull yourself out. I mean, there's plenty of reasons if you really don't want to push through, and so I think by the time we get to the end of this season, we're learning a lot about our current roster, and I think they're learning a lot about themselves and how to push through during difficult times. And this will pass, and we have a lot of positive days ahead of us. And I think ultimately we're going to look back at this season, 2-3 years from now, and say, hey, that was miserable going through it, but really we were able to establish the foundation, and the group that showed back up the next year, that they really understood our expectations and the standard, and were willing to go to work. And sometimes you have to kind of go through a little bit of this to kind of get that hunger back a little bit. And I think that's where a lot of our guys are right now. I mean, they have a lot of pride, and they're disappointed by how we performed. And the guys that are going to show back up in January, it's going to be very important to them to have a different result next year. And so my big challenge right now is, hey, let's finish strong. We've got 2 games left in the next 11 days. We haven't quit all year long. We're not going to quit right now. Let's continue to respond the right way and just give me everything you got. And that's really all we can ask at this point.
Coach, was Noah Johnson one of those guys that was probably a near game time decision? And this is the reason why I'm asking. You look at some of the play calling in the first quarter, it looked like more plays that would have been called if Noah Johnson was in the game. Those design quarterback run plays. And so my thought process, were you guys caught in a situation where you didn't have necessarily an opportunity to change your game plan, and you guys called plays that probably would have worked if Noah Johnson was in the game? Not necessarily saying those were botched plays because McLeod was in the game, but I just noticed that the plays that were called were not plays that we typically saw when McLeod is in the game.
Yeah, well, Noah did practice early in the week, and then he got on the unavailable list Thursday night. And then, and part of it really was game plan going in against Houston. We knew they were really strong up front, very athletic at linebacker. And when you're having trouble running the ball, then you have to do, some different things as far as quarterback run to kind of be that extra hat. But it's been one of those years. We thought after coming off of Memphis, Noah played pretty well in 20 of 29 and had some good momentum. And we're really excited that maybe he would be able to come back these next couple of games, continue to improve. But unfortunately, he was one of those guys that was added to that long list before the game.
Down quite a bit in the second half, and the team came back and ran off 21 straight points. Had to make you feel pretty good at that juncture.
Yeah, big message at halftime was, hey, that was embarrassing. That was, a very probably the worst first half that we played all year, and we were disappointed in that. But then the next message is, okay, we're going to find out again. This is another one of those testing points for this team. I'd be very disappointed if we go out there and just lay it down. And so I told the guys, hey, don't worry about the scoreboard. Just be locked in on each and every play, and we got to play better. And if we do that, we're going to be able to score. We'll get back in it. And, there was a point right there, end of the third quarter, going in the fourth quarter, where we got it to a 3-score game. We decided to kick it off deep to them. I think it was early fourth quarter. decided to kick it off deep to them. We just held them a couple of times. We're thinking, hey, we hold them, we go down and score again. We got a 2-score game. Now we kick an onside kick, and we're right back into this. So I was pleased that the guys fought back. Just unfortunately, once we kind of got to that point, they made a couple extra plays and put the game away.
Coach, you've talked about Batee on several occasions this year. Was it refreshing to finally get an opportunity to take a look at what he can do when he's given the opportunities?
Yeah, I thought this was 2 games in a row, and I think that's, as we look back at this season, whenever the season's over and really evaluating everything, I think we're going to be, have a lot of positive feelings about some of these freshmen that are getting some experience. And Batee is a guy. This is 2 weeks in a row that he's had over 70 yards rushing, and really adds an extra layer of playmaking ability when he gets out there in open field. He kind of turns on the jets, and so I think as he continues to get more comfortable in understanding the pass pro and all those other things, I think his reps will continue to increase.
There was a time out there you lined up with a freshman quarterback, a freshman running back, and 2 freshman wide receivers. So that's kind of where you have to be right now as you evaluate.
Yeah, I think for us it's a balance of trying to get some of these young guys some opportunities, and I think we're kind of getting to that point where these young guys have continued to be patient and earn an opportunity to play. And I hate that Trey got banged up there because he had moved the ball down really well, and unfortunately the hot came from the left. He didn't see it on his blind side, had the back wide open. He just looks over there, gets it off the back. We may score, and instead, that's a big freshman learning mistake right there, not understanding where you're hot. Instead, it was 7 points the other way, so it's a 14-point swing, and then he was out the rest of the game. But I really believe that there's several of those guys on offense. Trey Marsh at quarterback gives us a lot of excitement and potential in the future, and then Sincere Brown out there, and obviously OD has done a solid job this year. And I've talked about Weaver. I thought Weaver really showed some quickness and made a couple of nice plays there late in the game as well.
Coach, as we're winding down to it, and we're taking a look at next game, not knowing Noah Johnson's status, and let's say you can't get Contravious Marsh back, is Daquan Evans, you saw what he was able to do at the quarterback position last year. Is he a guy that we could potentially see?
Yeah.
Have you guys taken a look at him at quarterback at all? If the depth chart just
unfortunately we moved him to running back, and we're excited and think he has a chance to help us at running back, but he's got a banged up wrist that's not 100%. That's really prevented him from playing the last couple of weeks, and don't know if he's going to get an opportunity here these next 2 weeks as well. And then also, unfortunately, he had a death in his family this past week and went home for that. So he hasn't. He's had some disruptions this year and hasn't really been able to kind of get in the flow. But as we look to improve our running back room with size, I really feel like he's a guy that once he has a full off season to put on some weight with the frame that he has, because he's very natural with the ball in his hands. And then I think once we get to that point where he's able to do that, then I think there could be some packages later on in the future of kind of a wildcat situation. But unfortunately, he's been one of those guys that just has not been available to practice or really be a part of our plan the last couple of weeks.
2 weeks of home football coming up. Navy on Saturday, UCF on the 27th. We'll talk a little bit about this weekend's game when we return on the USF Football Radio Network, presented by Marathon. We have football at Raymond James Stadium Saturday night, the Bulls and Navy. This is a late kick. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff. Our radio coverage begins at 6. Both of these teams have been touched by the unavailables list in recent weeks. Bulls had a few, as we've already documented, in the game against Houston. Navy has not been able to play either of their last 2 games, but the Bulls and Navy set to go on Saturday night. Coach, this is salute to service night, and with some of the restrictions around the stadium, it's probably not going to be quite the pageantry that it usually is, but it's always a special night when the Bulls put together honoring servicemen and women.
Absolutely. I think this is a great opportunity really to thank all the servicemen and women for what they do for our country. And I mean, I think just about everybody has someone in their family. I know for me, both of my grandfathers were in the service, and I knew how much that really was passed down, and just the stories that I heard growing up, and really kind of shaped who they were as people and leaders within our family. And I just am so appreciative of so many of the servicemen and women for what they do, and hopefully this game could be another way to honor them and just let them know how much we appreciate them and their service.
Coach, and during these kind of theme type games and where we take an opportunity to obviously pay tribute, is there anything that you can do? Well, obviously, with all of the things that you have going on, trying to keep the team safe or whatever the case may be, to just kind of entrench players and your team in this experience, whether it's having a guest speaker come in, have you been able to do anything like that this week?
Yeah, we have not this week. We've spent the majority of our time trying to figure out how we're going to practice and kind of stay at that point. But those are things that we did bring some people in to speak to our team in August, and it's definitely something that in the off season, whenever we have a little bit more time, and hopefully if we can get through some of the stuff that we're dealing with COVID and get some people here in person. I think all of our players and coaches are tired of looking at people on the computer screen, and so it's kind of put a little bit of that on pause. But we do talk about kind of the game that we're going into, and let everybody understand the importance of it, and just kind of part of the life skills that we can get an opportunity to mention. But right now we've been 100% just trying to handle what's right in front of us day to day.
Well, let's talk about Navy a little bit, running the option offense. You saw that once this year and handled it pretty effectively against Citadel back on opening weekend. Navy has strayed a little bit offensively from their usual type of work. They've thrown the ball a little bit more on occasion than they have in past years, but still an unusual offense and one that's not necessarily easy to prepare for.
Absolutely. This is always a big week anytime you're getting ready to play an option team. Obviously, my experience at Clemson, we play Georgia Tech each and every year, so it's just a completely, the defensive guys have a lot more of the burden as far as just a completely different scheme. And that was one reason that we kind of took time today to do some walkthrough stuff, because it truly is it's a discipline game. You have to play very disciplined. Everybody has a gap and a responsibility, and if one of the 11 guys is not where they're supposed to be, then it can be a touchdown, and that's why it's so difficult to defend. And I think they've had some different personnel, different guys in at quarterback from time to time. Obviously, COVID has hit them very similar the way that it's hit everybody, and so I'm sure some of the differences of what they're doing is maybe playing to their strengths of their current team. But it's going to be a big challenge for us. I mean, I think, like you said, defensively we had success early in the year versus the option with Citadel, and now this is definitely a whole nother level just because of the personnel that Navy has.
Coach, early in the season, some games were taken away, but I think the game that everybody was looking forward to still happening was the FAU game. Now you guys were very close to having to cancel this game. You see what Navy has had to deal with. Is that something that you all still look to get accomplished this year? Have you made any progress in terms of potentially scheduling that game, or where do you stand?
Yeah, as far as I know, no decision has been made. I think a lot of it has to do with how we're able to finish out our year, how they're able to finish out their year. They're having a good year. If they're in their conference championship game, then it may make it difficult. So it's actually funny that you said that. I haven't thought about that in the last couple of weeks, but I know Michael Kelly has been in communication, so I really don't have a new update on that.
As you go into this game with Navy, again, you're kind of in the same spot of not knowing what personnel you have. Is that something you've kind of grudgingly gotten used to this year? I mean, that's an ongoing challenge, but it's got to be very difficult from week to week.
Yeah, it's definitely not only do you not know who you're going to have, you don't know who they're going to have, right? And I know they have they have a lot of guys out with the COVID and that may not be back, and so we have no way of knowing which quarterback, which running back, which lineman. So really, you just have to prepare for everything that you could get, and you got to. I mean, really, it's a point where you just prepare the guys that you have. Old school, which is 2019 and before. You'd be all disappointed if you had a guy that was out and had to replace him. But now it's the point you're just hoping. You're just happy. All right, I got 2 DBs, I got 2 safeties, I got 2 linebackers, I got 4 D line. Let's go play ball. I mean, that's really where you are in 2020. I'm hopeful we can get back to having normal rosters and all that. But hey, we're not the only one dealing with this, right? Everybody across the country, there's been 65 or 70 cancellations already this year. So we've been pretty fortunate to this point to only have one game that we were not able to get in there. So it brings its own challenges, but the way I choose to believe is that there'll be some positive things come from this in the future, and we'll definitely look forward to building on those.
Coach, aside from the obviously you want to end the season on a win streak if you can get it done. 2 wins, that'll be awesome. But other than that, what are you looking to finish this year and say, hey, at the very least, we got this accomplished over the past 2 games?
Yeah, I
over
think
the last 2 games.
sure.
I'm sorry.
I think the biggest thing is to continue to see our guys show up and go to work with that attitude. I think that's it gets harder and harder, right? Just human nature when you go out and practice all week and then you don't play well. In an environment and in a society where it's super easy to throw up the white flag and just say, hey, it's a bad year. I want to continue to see our guys show up each and every day, just as if we're undefeated playing for a conference championship. So that's number 1 is the mindset. Number 2 is the accountability, right? Every single thing matters. Study hall, their tutors, showing up for mandatory meals, being on time everywhere you're asked. Like, that's what I want to see. I want to see the accountability continue to improve these last couple weeks. And then finally, I want to see us improve. I think that's the biggest thing. I really saw us take some nice steps forward against Memphis 2 weeks ago, but I did not see the continued improvement the next week. And so really what I want to see, we got 2 games left, is I want to see us improve, and I want to see us finish strong and honestly play our best ball these last 2 games. That's our expectation, and that's our goal.
Want to give a tip of the hat to Trent Schneider. Wish he didn't have so much work on Saturday, but boy, he crushed the ball. He looked like Trent Schneider.
Yeah, he got off to a slow start. At the beginning of the year, part of that was we were really inconsistent with our snapping, and then he was battling some injuries himself. But it's great to see him be able to finish strong this season and really get back to being the punter that we know that he is. And looking forward to having 2 more games here with him doing well, punting the ball for us.
Coach, another guy that went down this past weekend was KJ Sales, and it looked to be pretty serious. You never like to see a guy on the ground holding the lower extremity. Do you have a status update for KJ?
I don't. I know he was getting an MRI today, and a lot of that was going to be off the results from the MRI. So I know that our doctors will be getting those results back here later on the next 24 hours. But really hope that it's nothing too serious. Hopefully he's able to get back at least for one of the last 2 games here and finish his career off the right way.
Well, it's been a long time on the road. Looking forward to Raymond James Stadium for these final 2 games. Coach, thanks. Good luck on Saturday night.
Thank you.
Head coach Jeff Scott. It's the Bulls and Navy. 6 o'clock airtime, 8 o'clock kickoff Saturday night at Raymond James Stadium. Stay with us. Offensive coordinator Charlie Weiss Jr. next on the USF Football Radio Network, presented by Marathon. Welcome back to the USF Football Radio Show. Bulls and Navy Saturday night, Raymond James Stadium, 8 o'clock kickoff. 6 o'clock will be our airtime as we get set for more American Athletic Conference action. Offensive coordinator Coach Charlie Weiss joins us. Coach, thanks for taking time for us. How difficult has this year been for you? You've had to shuttle in a lot of personnel.
Yes.
You're trying to build a system and implement what you know has worked well for you in the past. Tell us the challenges.
Yeah, there's, several challenges throughout this year between Corona, putting in a new scheme, just coaching staff getting together for the first time, players getting together for the first time, missing out on, some of those key times early in the year. But, it's been a joy to work with our players. I love our guys. They've got a great mindset, no matter, who we played, what the score was of the previous game. Those guys come ready to go to work every single day. So despite the challenges, which there certainly are plenty, it's been a pleasure to work with our coaching staff and our players to just try to find a way each and every week to win the game.
Coach, you have the name, right? So it's very difficult for anyone, and I don't know if they'll ever even try to disassociate you from your father, right? But I'm going to do that right now.
Okay.
Take him out of it.
Yep.
What makes you special as a young coach in this industry?
Yeah, I think work ethic's got to be the number one thing that you can pride yourself on. There's a lot of really intelligent football coaches out there, right? There's 130 Division I teams. There's plenty of good coaches across the board. So I just pride myself on having a great work ethic. That was one of the things that my dad taught me, and that I kind of knew I had to do going into this profession, because I knew a lot of people would assume I'm just a coach's son and all that right there. But I know I had to work my tail off and find a way to gain an edge in any type of way. And so I think that's the number one thing that I pride myself on.
How much have you had to change your offensive game plan to accommodate the ever-changing personnel this year? Have you been forced kind of to get away from some of the things you believe in?
Yeah, certainly. I think, whenever you go to a new place, there's going to be certain schemes that fit better than others as you try to formulate, what you do. And so we've had to just, kind of figure that out this year. Coach Scott and I, kind of combining the things that we did best at the places that we've been. And, there's maybe some things that they did at Clemson that we don't do as well here. So we've had to change that around, or maybe some things that we did at FAU that don't work as well here, and kind of had to, just formulate and find the things that our players do best, that our quarterbacks do best, our line does best, and find a way to give ourselves the best chance to win. And, we're still doing that. It's still evolving, and, we're just working to find a way to get a win.
Coach, some coaches have the opportunity to actually go and play in the NFL and then decide, hey, I want to come back and coach college ball.
Mm-hmm.
You spent some time with two pretty decent organizations. Obviously, the New England Patriots hadn't getting better than the Patriots in the past 15 years.
Right.
And then the Falcons, who found a lot of success during the time that you were actually there. What did those experiences lend to you as a coach? What did you take away, and how is it helping you with what you're having to deal with today? Not only from kind of what's going on with COVID, but just implementing new details within your in your wheelhouse from week to week.
Yeah, I think seeing two of the best quarterbacks to do it with Tom Brady and Matt Ryan, to see how they prepare each week, and how they take their game plan and formulate it, and how their chemistry with their wide receivers are, and work ethic and all that. I try to teach our players how to be a pro, because none of them at this point in time are professionals, but the best way to train to be a pro is to act like one. And so I think seeing how those professional players, how they approach a meeting, how they approach a practice, how they approach a game, there's always something that they're trying to accomplish. And so teaching them, hey, here's what I've seen professionals do, here's how I want to see you act and you be in meetings and practice, so on and so forth. I think that's probably one of the top things that I was able to take away from those experiences.
5 scholarship quarterbacks on this roster. Take us through that group of young men. Some of them we've seen a lot on the field, some we've seen a little. Give us a paragraph on each one. Strengths, things they could work on in the future, personalities, just your first impression of those 5 guys.
Yeah. We'll start with Jordan, as he's the guy that's, played the most for us this year. Jordan's a guy that's a very smooth passer and very intelligent player. He does a really good job of having a natural feel and instinct for the game and knowing where to go with the football. I think he's got really good touch on his throws. He's able to get it up and down. You saw in the last game against Houston him be able to hit some conversion fade balls and back shoulders and some of those. So I think that's some of the things that he does best. He's good as a runner and solid, can get you out of trouble, with his feet, be able to get some scrambles for positive yardage and do some things with that. He's a phenomenal kid on and off the field, doing things the right way. It's been a real pleasure to get to work with him. I think just working with him on, some ball location stuff, accuracy, and just continuing to improve on some of the minor details of everything that we do. Noah Johnson is a guy who's got really good arm strength, and he's very talented as a runner. His feet are a real problem for people when he can get loose into open space. That's something that he does a tremendous job with. But he's a good quality passer as well. He's got, like I said, he's got great arm strength. He's a good decision maker. He knows where to go with the football. He does a really good job of taking what the defense gives you, checking the ball down when needed, taking off and running when needed, and then he'll throw the shots when they're there. With him, we just kind of continue to work on some of his touch throws and just trying to find a way to put a little bit more air on the ball for some of those deep throws so we can be able to connect on that. Cade Fortin hasn't played as much this year. He's, had all sorts of different things throughout the season that's kind of hindered us from really getting to see him play. I was really, disappointed when he got in against Tulsa, I believe, and led us on a touchdown drive to start the second half. I thought that was going to be a really big moment for him to see how he developed from that point forward. Fortunately, just had an injury and hasn't been able to come back yet. I'm really looking forward to seeing Cade in the future get some opportunities. Once again, he's a really intelligent kid. He can draw all 22 players up on the board, tell you exactly what they're doing. He's got all the arm talent in the world. He can make every throw. He plays tough. He plays physical. He's not the most athletic quarterback in the room, but, he's going to give you all that he's got and all that right there. And, Cade's just missed some time over the past couple of years, so we're just continuing to work on his timing and anticipation on certain things to continue to improve there. Travis Marsh, is a guy that we're really excited about in the future. He has incredible arm talent. He can make every single throw. He can be on the left hash and throw a field out route right on the money. He's got great arm strength, really good accuracy. For him, it's just learning the playbook, learning defense, understanding coverages, and, trying to figure all that out so he can know where to go with the football in a hurry. So I think he's just a little behind on timing, anticipation, on some of those things, just continuing to know the playbook, know where your hots are, know how to fix protections, and know where to go with the football. Not as much of a runner, but he's got such good arm talent that, it makes up for that. And then Jordan Smith is another young quarterback we're excited about in the future, a little bit different than Trey. He's got a really, really good dynamic running ability, and he's really good throwing on the run. So outside the pocket, being able to move and make throws when things break down. He's got some really good skill with some of that. He's had some things like Cade this year that he's been fighting through. Haven't been able to get him opportunities, but looking forward to working with him in the future when we get him fully healthy and see how he can perform, when he gets the offense learned as well.
You've had a ton of running backs that have been very productive for you guys.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, sometimes in the pass game is when you guys are hurt the most because, and we talked about it this weekend during the broadcast, we haven't been able to see some of these quarterbacks' best abilities specifically because they're consistently under pressure.
Right.
We could argue, you need different personnel, but what do you think is missing that's going to take you guys to the next level from a pass protection standpoint? How do you guys get there at this juncture?
Yeah, I think we need to, number one, find ways to help whatever players it is that we need to help out in protections, whether it's, a certain lineman or even a certain back. And, finding different ways to, we've tried some different things this year where, hey, let's release the running back into the flat and keep the tight end in protection to have a little bit bigger body because we do have some smaller backs. Or, hey, let's get double chip help on this play, tight end on one side, running back on the other, maybe help our tackles out in certain situations or, do some 7-man pro stuff to help it out. So I think that's the biggest thing for us is just continuing to find different ways to get the people who need the help and give them help in different opportunities so that, like you said, the quarterbacks can have the opportunity to push the ball down the field and take advantage of some of that.
Wide receivers, you've had, I think, some pleasant surprises, at least to fans, maybe not to coaches, but you look at some of those youngsters that are getting time now. Dollison has been contributing really since the beginning of the season.
Yep.
But now we see Sincere Brown out there. We see some of the other younger guys. Tell us a little bit about the receiver core and where you think they'll be headed in the future.
Yeah, I think, like you said, OD is a guy that really, really stands out to us and the things that he can do. Him and Bryce are the two slots that we play, and They both do a great job, so we really try to play those guys 50-50, and they're two of our leading receivers this year. OD, he's got great explosiveness. He's great with the jet sweeps and getting the ball in his hands quickly and making people miss, and he's just very strong and physical, knows how to finish runs and run through catches and be tough with some of those things right there. We're really excited about him in the future. Think he's going to be a great player down the line. He already has shown flashes of that now. Another guy, Xavier Weaver, is somebody. He had a big catch against Houston last week in the second half. He's somebody that we're trying to get more opportunities to as the season goes on. He's got really freakish talent in terms of jumping ability, ball skills, and some of those things. He's still just, figuring everything out, learning the game, working to get stronger in some of those areas. But, he's a guy that's very impressive. Then Sincere Brown is kind of similar situation, really good ball skills, does a great job on the 50-50 balls, going up and getting it. So he's somebody that we're trying to get those opportunities to and continue to see him develop and grow as he learns the offense and gets reps with that first unit.
I always ask an offensive coach, what defensive player gives you a hard time in practice? What defensive guy are you always – hey, if you can't block him, if you can't get it done – now this is whether it's a scout team guy or a first team guy.
Yeah.
If you can't get it done against this guy in practice, you won't get it done in the game.
Yeah, I think, one of the players that stands out on defense is Boyles to me. I think he's a guy that flies around at practice, big body, can run sideline to sideline, do it all. When he's out there, I think it makes a big difference compared to when he's not. So he's somebody that really stands out to me and does a great job of practicing hard and playing full speed. So I love whenever we get to do good on good work and go, our offense against our defense and do all that stuff. And I think he's definitely a guy that stands out big time.
Coach, thanks for taking time today. We'll see you out
Absolutely.
there on Saturday.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate being on here.
Offensive coordinator Charlie Weiss Jr. Stay with us. Donovan Jennings next on the USF Football Radio Network, presented by Marathon. Welcome back to the USF Football Radio Show. We have home football the next 2 weeks, including Saturday night, the Bulls against Navy, an 8 p.m. kickoff at Raymond James Stadium. Offensive lineman Donovan Jennings joins us. Donovan, thanks. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, sir. How are you doing today?
We are good. This has been a challenging year. We've talked to coaches about it. Give us the player perspective of what you have had to deal with the virus, everything changing. This is an unusual year, to say the least.
Yeah, this year has came with a lot of challenges and obstacles, but, I think the team, we all took this challenge and, try to turn it into championship as best as we could. Obviously we don't like the outcome and the results we've been having, but, I think as a team we've been doing a great job of just being resilient and keep coming to work every day, keep coming to practice with the same mentality of getting better. And, I think the guys have really done a good job of that. And, with the limited numbers we do have, I think we have done a good job of just keep forward and just keep pushing forward.
Donovan, what have you seen change about yourself as a man throughout this year, right? You had things going on, not you personally, but things were going on from a social injustice standpoint. You're also dealing with COVID and trying to find a way to be a leader on this team and same time get better. Same time, go be a student athlete over at campus. What have you seen change about yourself, and what do you have to say about that growth overall?
I just want to say that, I want to say I've stepped more into the role of a leader and recognizing my role and learning what I have to do as a leader. And, it's new because, I'm walking around and they call me an old man, but I've only been here 3 years, so it's kind of weird for me still, but it's I'm trying to do a great job of just lead the guys and, a lot of the younger guys we have just, keep their head on right and make sure that, they still we still got to keep working. The train never stops rolling no matter who's in the field, who's in the backfield. Just want to do a great job of just keep rolling and try to keep moving with it the best possible.
How gratifying is it for the offensive line when the running game really gets going, when a guy like Battie runs so effectively last week? I mean, you were on the offensive line at UMass when Cronkrite got his 302. I mean, that had to be a great feeling.
Yes, sir. It is a great feeling when our bats get rolling, because we know all of our bats in the backfield have the potential to do so, and we know that each back there can get up some yards. And our job as the O-line is just making sure we get the holes for those guys and make sure we can get any type of crease or any type of slither of area, and then they're gone, they're breaking through. So I think it's great that Battie showed what he can do, and he's a great true freshman. He's gonna be a lot of help towards us and for a lot of these games. And, really just keep telling those running backs, we got you, we got you. We're going to keep working, and finding those little slivers of space and just get loose.
Is it difficult lining up 1 week with 4 guys at the other 4 positions on the offensive line, then having to make a change and got 4 other guys you could potentially line up with? Or have you guys worked enough with each other in practice where it's easy to just roll a guy in and keep it moving?
Yeah, I would say we're a pretty close knit unit, and it's not too much trouble, rolling a guy in. I know me, Meach, and Brad were out the first couple games for COVID related reasons, and the other guys just stepped in and filled the roles perfectly fine. And I think that's just one thing is we all got to get better, and we all have room for improvement, and there's always room to get better. And I think with us being as close as we are, it's a lot easier to roll some of those guys in as if we weren't. So I think it's a pretty good job of having the guys be ready and just step in that role.
You guys obviously are all really well-conditioned athletes, but the snap counts are really something these days with the amount of time you have to spend out there. How are you dealing with that? I mean, do you have to pace yourself a little bit in practice? I know you don't want to do that either because you want to give 100% then as well.
Right. I would say it's okay. I think all of our guys are really well conditioned. I know Mondays we each the whole line we do 30-yard sprints. After every Monday practice, just to stay in the groove of things. Keep our body working. But the snap count for our guys is not too much an issue. It's taxing on the body after the game, but we can get in the ice tub and the boots, and that will hand it all out.
Did you always see yourself as a guy who plays football at the University of South Florida, having grown up here in the city?
No, I wish I could say yes, but no, honestly, because, coming up, I was just straight basketball player, and, I started playing football really my senior year of high school, and that, that really helped me elevate my game. And coming here has opened my eyes and showed me, what type of football player I can be and when I have the time to become one.
Well, Donovan is an outstanding student, and as such, we are going to turn him loose here and let him get to a virtual class. But thanks a lot for taking
Thank you so
time
much for having
for
me.
us.
Thank you.
Donovan Jennings from the Bulls offensive line. Stay with us. Sam and I back to wrap things up after this on the USF Football Radio Network, presented by Marathon. Welcome back. We have football Saturday night at Raymond James Stadium. It's the Bulls and Navy. Navy comes in with a 3-4 record and 2 consecutive postponements because of COVID. So they're a little bit hard to figure. They, as we mentioned, got out of their offense a little bit this year, have thrown the ball a little bit more than Navy tends to throw it. As Coach Scott mentioned, that may be just playing to the personnel they have available, but it's a hard team to get ready for the Bulls.
I'd like to agree, but Jim, the reality is anything they do from a schematic standpoint, these players have seen it already. Don't get me wrong, every team carries maybe anywhere from 6 to 12 plays that you really want to pay attention to because those plays pretty much define their success and define their main body of work. But I think what Coach Scott is looking for, he's looking for the guys that'll go out and tackle well, the guys that'll go out and block well, and the guys that'll go out and just play their assignment. And you don't need to turn on film and look at a team to do those things well. But you need to do those things well before you can go be successful. And I think with as depleted as they are right now, it's important for guys to just go out and play assignment football.
Well, that goes along with what Coach has said periodically this year. It's more about us than it is about the guys that we're playing. So let's talk about us. This is a hard game to bounce back from, the loss at Houston and the Bulls being so shorthanded, being handicapped in practice as we've talked about. You really have to dig down deep to play and be ready for this game this weekend.
You can, and I can only think about what it feels like from not only a player standpoint but as a coach's standpoint, because it gets to a point in time in the season where as a head coach, everybody expects you to come in team meetings and say the magical things and have all the answers, but it's a challenge on the coach's behalf too. And I know it's not proper to do, but you just can't help but start to get excited for what this team will be next year. You give Coach Scott and his staff a full off season. You got so many freshmen who are playing great football. You got the guys who are going to get a bonus year and who can come back and who will be that much better. The Antonio Greers, the Donovan Jennings, Mitchell Brinkman, if we have the opportunity to see him play again next year. So it's a ton of excitement. Every program that has success, you look at UCF, you look at Cincinnati, it was one season or it was a game, it was a span of a certain amount of games where they actually had to build their foundation. And it's not pretty, but this foundation is being built for the Bulls this season.
Salute to service night. A lot of things going on around the stadium. Hope we will see you at Raymond James for an 8 o'clock kickoff for the Bulls and Navy. If you can't make it, our coverage begins at 6 p.m. Saturday night. That'll do it for another week. Back 1 week from today on the USF Football Radio Network, presented by Marathon.